Hey, good.
Oh, there we are. We are
All
live.
right.
Hey Rob, how you doing?
Very good. How are you, Christy?
I'm great. Thank you for coming on the channel this evening. I am very excited to hear your story kind of all in one place. I've watched you did an interview with Dr. Sean Baker, and you
Yes.
have your own channel, which I'll definitely shout out in a little while here. But I would love to hear your carnivore journey, your health story, how going carnivore has affected that.
Absolutely. I'm glad to tell it. And this is actually a good week for it because it was 4 years ago this week that I was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. And of course, we all know what happened in 2020 with the I don't know if we can say it on here because it seems like if you say it anywhere, you get bumped off or you get penalized for saying what happened in 2020. But it was, yeah, I went into the hospital as a result of COVID, and it was quite an experience. And from that, I got double pneumonia, and then there was a point where I was told that I wasn't going to live through the night, and that was quite a roller coaster ride of emotions through the whole entire 72 days that I spent in the hospital. But hey, I give thanks to my Lord because I'm here today, 4 years later, and I like to say that I am a pulmonary fibrosis warrior. Every day is a little bit of a surprise. We never know how good or how bad the day is going to be, but here I am, and it is an honor to be on your show tonight. I'm very thankful for it. And so for me, I had been on so many medications, and I went from, I think at my lightest, when I left the hospital, I went from 205 pounds down to 140 pounds when I left the hospital. I was very, very sick. And I was put on a lot of medications, and I didn't know what a lot of those medications really did. I just um, took it just as word that it's what I needed to do. It's what I needed to take. And so I followed the instructions thinking that it was going to make me feel better. And I don't know that it really did, but I was able to gain weight. And unfortunately, I went much further than I really needed to go. And I got it to a point where I like to say I was 235, but really I was pushing about 240. And for someone who's 5 feet 6 inches, that's it made me look a little bit like a pear. I was a little bit round in the midsection there. And also having to deal with just the effects of the medication, the effects of living or being with pulmonary fibrosis. It was an experience that I will never forget. And it took me to a point where I really needed to evaluate what I was taking, the medications that were being prescribed to me, how they were affecting me. And finally, I think it was December of last year when I went in to see my pulmonologist, my cardiologist, my regular doctor, and being told that I needed to go on statins and I needed to work on my diet and making it more of a vegetable based diet, avoid fats, avoid red meats, avoid anything high in cholesterol, high in fats, I guess you could say. And I did that for a little while, and I noticed almost really no change at all. In fact, things progressively got worse, and to a point where, again, the doctors were telling me, "Okay, you've got to you've got to get on these diets. You've got to try something different because what you're doing is not working. So we're going to increase your medications. We're going to up your dosages." And again, things got progressively worse, and finally I saw a video of a before and after of just a series of pictures of before and afters from the carnivore diet, and I really wasn't so concerned about the health benefits. Mostly for me at the time, it was just about losing weight. I just wanted to lose weight, and so I started as strict as could be. I went on the beef, bacon, butter, and eggs diet as far as the carnivore went, and I stopped taking my medications. I did not have I'm gonna be transparent, I did not have a doctor's authority to do that, but I took a moment, I took a time for both me and my wife to look at the medications we were taking and actually look at what the side effects were. I couldn't believe it, really, because a lot of the side effects were, uh, lethargy, you'd be very lethargic, it would make you tired, and it was hard to figure out, okay, how am I supposed to stay active, be active when the medications I'm taking are have the side effect of making me tired, making me drowsy, and just going against everything the doctors are telling me that I need to do. And so I made a personal decision. I did that with my wife after talking to her, and I said, "Look, just give me just give me a month. Let me see what'll happen. Let's just try it for a month and see what happens." Christy, it wasn't 2 weeks. It wasn't 2 weeks on that carnivore diet where the progress and the changes were significant and they were dramatic, and all of a sudden, I could breathe better. I had energy. It was just amazing, and still, even today, after, oh, what, 4 months, 5 months of this carnivore diet, I still can't believe increasing red meats, increasing my fat intake. I'm almost at a stick of butter every day, and I'm not kidding about that. Uh,
Nice.
and yes, and red meats and just doing everything that growing up was counter to what we were being told. So, the carnivore diet has been a tremendous benefit for me and for my health. Being able to get off I don't wanna go too far because I know you have questions, but I just wanna say that, first off, a disclaimer here, this is what I did, so I'm not telling everyone here to get off your medications and just ignore what your doctor tells you. I'm just recommending take a moment to study what it is you're being told and what it is that you're taking, and look at the side effects and see how it's acting on your body and how you're reacting to it. I can tell you that in the last 5 months, it's been amazing for me.
So not only, I mean, you said eating all the fatty red meat and stick of butter and all that. You talked about that being opposite to what we were told in childhood, but it was
Yeah,
opposite to what literally your doctors were telling you right then and there. They
absolutely.
were telling you go like vegetarian or high vegetable
Yes,
and
yes,
reduce your fat, and you just went and did
the
the
complete
opposite.
opposite. I
and
did.
and that's when you started having positive results.
Yes,
I just wanted to clarify with you. So in 2020, you had the bad virus that we all know what we're talking about there. But
yes.
then when did your diagnosis of pulmonary fibrosis? Was it before that or was it after that?
It was
And
after that. Go
okay,
ahead.
so okay. And I was just going to ask, can you explain what is pulmonary fibrosis for those people that might not know, and how serious is it?
Absolutely. So I didn't know what pulmonary fibrosis was either. My wife, my parents, no one in my family really knew what it was. But pulmonary fibrosis is a scarring of the lungs, where the tissue in the lungs begins to scar. It becomes like a callus, and so the oxygen that you take in, first of all, it limits how much oxygen you can take into your lungs, because you've got all this scarring that's in your lungs now, that's taking up this space, and then you're not able to convert that oxygen for something that's usable for your blood cells and for your body to use. And so my diagnosis came about, I think it was about 3.5 weeks after I was admitted into the hospital. It started with the COVID, which is what I was sent to the hospital for. And then I had double pneumonia. And then, of course, the incident where they told me that I wasn't going to survive through the night. And then from there, it went to, okay, now somehow he's still alive, but now he's not going to survive without a double lung transplant. Several things happened during that hospital stay, and my wife likes to call them divine delays, to where I was at one point a day away from getting a double lung transplant. I was everything was in the process for it. Several things happened in the hospital that caused me to be delayed, and through that time, I eventually started to breathe more. I was able to bring in more air, and there were some healing elements that took place. And I they don't know what it is. I know what it is, but the doctors, even today, when last time I went to my pulmonologist, which I have to say was about 8 months ago, still cannot tell me what changed, why am I here today when I wasn't supposed to be? The scarring is still there. I've still got the scarring in my lungs, and that's why I have pulmonary fibrosis. Normally, when you're diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis, there is a 3 to 5 year lifetime expectancy from your diagnosis. And I'm on I'm on year 4, and I have never felt better.
Wow, that's amazing. So,
Mm.
the doctors basically anything that they say they can do for you has to do with what, like medications that can slow it down, but they don't have any type of cure. Is that what you're kind of
That's
saying?
correct. Yes, yes. At this time, there is no cure,
Okay.
and there are some drugs that slow down the progress of the scarring because we're
If you can hear me, Rob, we lost you. You froze. He froze, you guys, right at the best part. Let's see if he comes back. Okay, so while we wait for him to come back, I'm just going to mention here that I'm so happy that Rob agreed to come on and chat with me today about this because, oh, hi, Nicole. Nice to see you. I know I have a busy day. It's because I'm going back to school in like 2 weeks and I'm trying to
Oh,
squeeze it all in. Oh, hey, you froze there for a good long
I
while.
did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, and oh, you're glitchy still. There
I
we
am.
Okay. Yeah, you're a bit glitchy. Oh, and he's out. Maybe he'll get his internet taken care of. But yeah, I'm going back to school in like 2 weeks. Summer vacation will be over, and I've really been getting a lot of things scheduled, including this with Rob right now. So sorry, we missed probably most of what you said, but you were
Oh,
talking
no.
about the scarring and how because we were talking about how there's not really the doctors can maybe slow it down with some medicine, or they say they can slow it down, but that they don't have a cure. And then you said that yes, that there isn't a cure, but and there might be some things that can slow it down. And I think that's about where you froze.
Yes, and in fact, I brought, a bottle with me of I'm not sure if y'all can see that, this is called Ofev, and this was prescribed to me. One of the things that I like to bring up, in fact, I heard a little bit of it in your what is the interview with, Dr. Zoe, Harcum?
Yes.
Is it
Mm-hmm.
Harcum?
Yep.
About the statins and the money making that goes on with that. For
Mm-hmm.
this, Ofev, it is a medication that is supposed to slow down the progress of, pulmonary fibrosis, but that bottle is a 30-day supply, and it is an $11,000 cost for a 30-day
Whoa.
supply,
Wow.
$11,000.
And so I was about to say this, and then you came back. So I do have a family member that's been diagnosed with this, and that's one of the reasons I really wanted to chat with you today. But one of this person's questions is about OFEV or Esbriet. And so he was asking
Mhm.
if you've ever tried either OFEV or Esbriet. Have you tried either one of those? And what have you had any results from them? And does your insurance cover that $11,000? I added that.
Yes, yes, at the time when I was on it, yes, my insurance covered it, thank goodness. So OFEV I took for over a year,
Okay.
and there were no significant changes, and, in fact, the side effects, of the drug caused serious nosebleeds, a lot of stomach issues for me. And so my pulmonologist agreed to take me off of the drug for a short time just to see what would happen. And so it started with taking the x rays and to look at the status of my lungs at the time prior to being removed from the OFEV. And then a year later, coming back every 6 months, but we looked at two of them 6 months later, and then also the following year later to see if there was any progress with the pulmonary fibrosis, and there was no continued scarring. So we just maintained the stain off of OFEV, and and that worked for me. My personal experience is that I was able to stay off of OFEV and continue to be off of the medication now for 2.5 years without OFEV.
Okay. And then the other one, Esbriet, do you know what that is? I had to look them up. I was like, oh, okay. And I found that they were both drugs that are kind of supposed to slow it down, but I'm sure you've heard of it having the diagnosis. Did you try that one at all?
I didn't. I think that's an alternative to OFEV,
Okay.
and for
Okay.
me, it was OFEV is what they decided for me.
Okay. So currently you're not taking any medication for the pulmonary fibrosis, just going carnivore. I understand at one time you were on a lot of oxygen though. Is that accurate?
Yes, in fact, probably for the first year and a half, oxygen was necessary for just about any kind of activity for me, whether it was going from bedroom to living room or taking a shower. Anything that was even just a little bit of exertion required me to use my oxygen. And normally my oxygen levels would fall probably anywhere between 75 to 88 on my oxygen levels. And so I needed to try to maintain ideally at least 92 to 95%. And so I walked around with a tank. I did, and it was just tethered to me all the time, whether I carried it in a backpack or pulled it on a little trolley. So it
Mm.
stayed with me all the time. I eventually got to a point where I was able to do slight activity without it. Not going to the mall, not walking around Walmart or Target or shopping, grocery shopping, anything like that. I still needed the oxygen for that, but little things like, again, walking to the kitchen from the living room, uh, sitting in a shower and being able to wash myself and move around with my arms and legs and body and everything like that, again, without oxygen, but I still required it to be very, very close to me. Again, a little bit of improvement, but the biggest improvement came when I know this is gonna sound crazy, but when I started the carnivore diet, the change was so dramatic, and I don't even know how to explain it. It got to a point where I could, mow the lawn, work outside, yard work, um, building a carport for our cars outside, working on our land, just general work around the house no longer required oxygen, and it was just it also there were aided in my weight loss, and I think that also had a lot to do with being able to breathe better also. But increase in energy, uh,
Mm.
it was an amazing progress and a dramatic change that I still really can't explain, except just the carnivore diet is just crazy amazing.
Do you think it has to do with like inflammation reduction as well? Because the person I know that has this, I believe, has been like on a steroid to try to help with inflammation.
I do. I really think so. I really believe that you're starting to build lean mass in your body for one thing, and you I think that you're eliminating so many toxins that we're used to consuming with fast food or processed food with sugars. So many things that you eliminate when you go on this carnivore diet that we probably had no idea how bad they really affected our bodies. And even for some things that we're told are good for us, it's just you eliminate them, and all of a sudden, things in your body just begin to make a positive change.
Okay, sorry, I was typing in the chat. Okay, so that leads
Okay.
me to another question. So, this question says, once you went carnivore, how soon did you notice a difference in your IPF? And the I in IPF stands for idiopathic, right? Meaning they
Idiopathic.
don't know the
Mhm.
cause. They don't know the cause.
Right.
But anyways, and then what was the first improvement you noticed?
Weight loss. Weight loss
Mm.
was the dramatic initial change, and it probably began with a lot of water loss. And so I wouldn't deny that. I wouldn't say, okay, well, all that is probably water. Sure, maybe it was, but I think along with that water were a lot of toxins, a lot of inflammation, and within 2 weeks, the change was dramatic. I felt like a new person. It was so wonderful to be able to do activities and not have to be tethered to an oxygen concentrator or to have a backpack or a tank around me and on my body at all times. I still bring one with me if I go out just in case. I carry one in the car or the truck, but I don't have to walk around without it. I can go shopping without it. So yeah, it was two weeks, and it's still unbelievable to me because if I hadn't have done this and someone was telling me about it, I would say, "Okay, this is you're equating this to a get rich quick scheme." It's like overnight you're gonna be a millionaire. Okay, so
Yeah.
overnight your pulmonary fibrosis went away and you're a new person. No, that's not what happened, but what I could tell you is that there has been a dramatic change in my body. The weight loss was quick, but also the developing of the energy, the ability to do things and be more active and just it's I don't know how to explain it, but it works. It just works.
Wow. Well, Judy D is here and she can hardly believe what she's hearing. So, Judy D, that because you're a respiratory therapist, if you have any questions or any comments, I would love
Yes, please.
to take those. So, type those in. Okay, another question is, have you had any recent breathing tests? Like, what are those breathing tests here that he's talking about? And if so, how do they compare with your tests prior to carnivore?
The spirometry tests. Oh, I
Okay.
used to yes, I used to hate those, just because you get so lightheaded and you start coughing, you get dizzy. It's like sitting and trying to blow up 100 balloons, and so there are these tests that you take where you blow into a tube and it measures the strength of your lungs. Also with you're breathing it measures also the oxygen to nitrogen, I guess that goes out. And I don't know all of the medical terminology. I wish I could give you great information on that, but I am yes, my spirometry levels were really bad, and since the carnivore, I've had it done once, and there was a significant improvement, And, I have them here. I don't know how to read the numbers, but I've got to I pulled those out just in case somebody might ask me about, the spirometry levels, but I do have some of those here. And so, yeah, I can tell you that, yes, there was a significant change, in my spirometry tests, and also in my what is it? They call it the 6-minute walk, where you walk for 6 minutes, and they test how far you can walk, and then how your how your oxygen levels are, and if you begin to desaturate in your oxygen levels. Yeah, I used to have to do my 6-minute walk with oxygen. It would walk around with it, and they would check my oxygen levels. I haven't had to do that. I don't I just don't need the oxygen with me.
Wow, that's amazing. I would love to know some of those numbers. When you were talking about your O2 sats earlier and how low it got. So, my youngest son has asthma, and his
Yes.
very first asthma attack, like we didn't know he had asthma. He was like normal, and then all of a sudden he had this like very first asthma attack, and it got quite severe. We took him to urgent care. They sent us home. Then we ended up going right to the ER, and his lips were starting to turn blue. It was
Oh,
very
no.
scary, and his oxygen sats were 80. So when you're telling me how low your oxygen, I was like, oh my gosh, because when my son was 80, he was like 1.5. He couldn't breathe, and his head was
Right.
drooping, and his lips were just turning blue. And so I can
Mm.
only imagine dealing with, having oxygen sats at that low level, and like trying to suck in that oxygen. It's
It's
just,
scary. You get, there's anxiety that builds up,
mm,
panic attacks, and those only make it worse.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, oxygen is really important. You really
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you gotta have
Yeah.
your oxygen.
Gotta have that oxygen.
Yes.
Susan, I'm so sorry to hear this. She says that my husband and before him, his father both died from pulmonary fibrosis.
Oh, I'm sorry to
I
hear that.
wish we had known about carnivore back then. My husband died in 2002.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
mean, so
sorry.
many of us, yeah, so many of us wish, we've all had, I mean, I've had, relatives in my family. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, I wish I would have known about this however X number of years ago, right? Because we know how much it can help people. But yeah, I'm very sorry, Susan. So another question I have for you is, did you ever have a moderate to severe cough prior to going carnivore? And if so, has it improved?
Yes, I did, but I was able to that went away long before I started the carnivore diet. Um, I had chronic cough all the time, and I don't know if that was part of the blood pressure pills that I was taking at that time, because I think it was lisinopril, but some of those medications, that was a huge side effect for me, was the coughing as a result of taking that medication. Once changing that medication, then my coughing began to subside, and that took place before the carnivore diet. So uh, thankfully, I was able to just eliminate that by changing my medication at that time.
So just to clarify, because you were talking earlier about medication, do you know how many medications you were on? And then, because you've talked about a few, you've talked about the one for the pulmonary
Yeah, the
fibrosis. You're telling
OFEV,
us
the
now about it. Yeah,
lisinopril.
lisinopril. You said your doctor said to take a statin. I don't know if you actually ever took it, but do you know how many medications you were on, and then how many you removed, and how many you're on now?
I do. I was on 22 medications.
What?
Now yes, now
Oh
some of
my
those
gosh.
were, yeah, some of those were supplements, which I still take.
Okay.
So,
Hmm.
my vitamins, uh, a lot of vitamins, I still take those, so I haven't taken myself off of those. But yeah, a total of every day, it was about 22 medications when I left the hospital. Um, Probably about a year before starting the carnivore diet, again, I was able to eliminate some of those medications just by way of natural healing. That It probably got down to about, I think it was about 16 or 17 medications, and that was up to the carnivore diet. And then when I started the carnivore diet, I stopped all my medications except for my supplements and except for one blood pressure pill. I was taking two of them, and I eliminated it myself. I did not consult a doctor, and so I'm letting everyone know, transparent. Don't do this without consulting a doctor. This was my choice, and it was a personal choice, just because of what I was experiencing with my doctors and with the interviews and all my visitations and what I was being told at the time. So my change was extreme, and so I also wanted to document it, and that's why I started my YouTube channel and my social media, was to hold myself accountable for the weight loss, for one thing, and then also to be able to let people know, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I'm going to try this. And so since doing all that, I I still have I feel better, and some days are still bad days, and that comes with pulmonary fibrosis. There are occasional days where I can't get out of bed, in spite of everything, carnivore, eliminating medications, and having a good night's rest. I'm still too tired to do that. But it's much fewer and farther between than it was before. The other thing I do want to mention, and this is very important, is that external environments play a very important part also. So when I started the carnivore diet, it was during the cooler months, it was during the winter. And when you don't have the heat and the sun blaring down on you all the time, then it doesn't rob you of a lot of your energy. And so you also feel better as a result. So it was good for me at that time to start that. It got to a point where I started to feel invulnerable. I felt like Superman. I'm eating steak and eggs and butter, and I feel great, and drinking water. I'm going to go outside, and I didn't pay attention to the weather. It was 99 degrees. The sun was blaring down on me, and it was about 45 minutes into doing the lawn that I desaturated, and my levels dropped very bad. I was down into the low 80s, and so, I had to rush and turn my oxygen concentrator on and turn it up all the way to, it was 5 liters at for my concentrator is what it could get, and I was sucking on that oxygen, and so, there are you're not gonna be cured by the carnivore. At least I haven't been yet, but the results and the progress have been great. You just have to realize that you still have your limits. You still have pulmonary fibrosis, and there are still some things that can really affect how you feel regardless of your diet at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So Susan is saying here, thank you. We have four daughters, and one of them has sensitive lungs when she gets cold. I worry she's inherited the disease from her father's side. I need to share your story with her. So, Susan, that in itself makes it worth me
Mm,
having Rob on here to tell his story.
yes.
He does have a channel, so go check that out where he has given like updates, and it's a really good I don't know, like a just kind of like a vlog, I guess, of
Yeah, just a
what
progress report.
yeah, like a progress report. Yeah.
Yes.
So the last question that I have for you from this person who sent me some questions to ask is prior to your incredible bout with COVID and contracting IPF, did you have any serious pre-existing conditions?
I didn't. In fact, I was pretty dang healthy. I was, in school, an ex-gymnast, and I stayed healthy, taught gymnastics, lifted weights. I stayed active, and then, of course, having children, that 2 boys playing football and daughters playing volleyball and basketball, and a wife that is also active and loves sports. It kept me active. And so the doctors think that there may have been a pre-existing condition, but there was nothing to show for it. And if there was, then it took it took COVID to bring it out.
Okay, interesting.
Mhm.
So I just want to ask you, what do you see for your future? Like, are you going to continue to do carnivore? Like, do you think it's going to, change your trajectory for your future? What do you see as far as that goes?
There is no way I could leave the diet. First of all, I I love the food. I
Steak, eggs, and butter? Come
I
on.
know, bacon, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, yes. Uh, full transparency, I also like a good salad. Yep, I know. And there are some listen, there are some people who have taken the carnivore diet to a cult level, and I have nothing against them. They look amazing. They have such wonderful they've been educational to me, and I love the information that they provide. But I have because of maybe my spiritual beliefs, I just believe that some foods that were provided to us naturally are still good. Now I waver back and forth because I don't know why I gotta go to the grocery store and look at one set of vegetables that are available, and then I look at the same set of vegetables, but now they say organic. So why am I having to choose between the 2? And then, of course, I understand that pesticides, man-made influences, stuff like that. So I am very careful about the indulgences that I take when I have vegetables, but yeah, I can never see myself getting off of carnivore because it has just been such a wonderful and dramatic positive change to my body, and just learning about processed foods and what it does to you, and when I have slipped and have gone and had pasta, or I've had, devil's food cake, oh my goodness. For a birthday or something like that, you feel it. You understand that you're gonna pay for it for a few hours, and, you automatically say, "Oh my goodness, I cannot do that again. I gotta get back to feeling good." So, I gotta get those steaks out of the freezer and get them ready to cook again because that indulgence will weigh on you, and it will take a toll on you. So, carnivore for life.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Thank you to everyone who's watching. And right
Yes.
before we sign off, I'm going to just show your channel.
Yes.
So I have it pulled up here. Let me just share my screen. So hopefully you
Experience
guys can
to
see that. So
struggle
here
so
is
badly
Rob's
just
channel,
to breathe, not to
Carnivore
be able
Lung
to do
Journey.
almost
And
anything.
I'll
Exertion
post
for
a link
me
in the
was
chat
trying to
right now if
stand up.
anyone wants to head
Exertion for
over
me
there and
was taking a
subscribe.
shower. I had to have a
But yeah,
chair
he shares
in the
all of
shower so
his
I could
all of
sit
his
down
story and
and
his
and
journey on
and
there.
shower.
So,
I had
okay.
yes,
Sorry, I'm like, oh,
yes, and
we have a question here from
that's
somebody too.
great. I
So
love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll pop that up. Nia would like to know, have your doctors commented on your improvements?
I went my last visit, I went and had my blood labs done, and my cholesterol levels were I still don't understand cholesterol completely because that's a whole new issue right there. But my cholesterol levels went from 296 to 180. So they dropped almost 100 points in everything. So it was a huge improvement. But my doctor, my cardiologist, I went in there feeling so good. My cardiologist said, "You have some improvement. Let's increase your dosages and see if we can make it better."
Wait, dosages of what?
My
Statins?
statins, yes. Yes, and that was a very, very rude awakening for me. And so no, I haven't taken them.
Yeah.
No, like I said, carnivore for life.
Yeah. That's amazing. My cholesterol did exactly the opposite. If you've looked into the lead mass hyperresponders at all, so mine, I mean, my HDL went way up and my triglycerides went way
Went
down, but
down.
my LDL went like off the chart. My doctor
Oh,
wanted me on a
yeah.
statin. Yeah, according to her, I was gonna fall over dead like right in front of her.
Right, yes.
But I feel like we need that cholesterol. It's like the basis of all our hormones. It's how we make our vitamin D.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I did not take that statin either.
No,
So anyway,
no.
well, thank you so much again for coming on and telling your
Christy, thank
story. I
you.
hope people, this helps people. And if they didn't know what this was, the fibrosis, pulmonary fibrosis was, they know now, and hopefully, like I said, I know it's going to help the person that I know. And just thank you so much for
Absolutely.
your time.
Thank
So
you, Christy, and can I add something just real quick before we say
please,
goodbye? If
please.
there's yeah, if there's anybody out there that is experiencing pulmonary fibrosis, lung disease, or something like that, if you want somebody to talk to, I make it available on my channel too. You can text me, you can call me. I'm happy to talk to you. My wife is happy to talk to you. And if you're somebody who needs prayer or believes in prayer, we're happy to do that for you too. So, Christy, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.